Hey guys, it's JP back for another video, and today we're going to be in Cambodia. So thanks for tagging along. We're going to be doing a little temple hopping in Siem Reap. You guys know the drill. At the end of the video we'll be talking costs, breaking it down between lodging, food, and activities, so stick around till the end. Our first stop is the most famous and the most prestigious of the temples, which is Angkor Wat. This was built in the 12th century and is not just any temple system, but it is the largest in the world, larger than the Vatican. This temple was originally designed for the god Vishnu of the Hindu religion. And what you're going to see with all of these temples, as they are part of this Hindu religion, is how intricate and detailed a lot of the carvings are within the stone that occupies these areas. But all of these temples are part of the World UNESCO Heritage Site for Cambodia, and it's probably the thing that is the most well known about Cambodia. And like I mentioned, this temple was originally built for the god Vishnu in the Hindu religion, but this was later converted into a Buddhist temple once there was a regime change. So you're going to see a lot of different messaging throughout all of these temples, and some of these temples were actually intentionally destroyed when that change occurred with regards to the religious philosophies of the country. But the thing that characterizes these temples the most is the age in which they appear. They look so old and in ruins, and so it's something that just fascinates me, as I've never seen anything quite like Angkor Wat. And you can see here all of the detailing in the work of these carvings. Even the banisters within the windows are shaped in a way that is just so amazingly intricate that I couldn't believe that this was actually built in the 12th century. Now, our travels will take us to other parts of the world, and we're going to be seeing another Hindu temple in India called Akshardham, which also has these amazingly intricate carvings throughout the building. But considering that this has been there since the 12th century, and to consider that all of this work was done by hand, is just so amazing to me that it's something I would never expect. You're looking at something that looks straight out of an Indiana Jones movie. And the other fascinating thing about this is that this is still an active temple system. You'll see people praying throughout the building and worshiping their gods. And so it's still very much important that you're respectful and you have your proper attire on. You should be wearing something that covers your knees or your shoulders when you do visit these areas. After Angkor Wat, we took our tuk-tuk to the next location, or the next temple here. And all of these temples are within a relatively short distance, but if you want to get around, the best way to do this is with a tuk-tuk. We paid $20 to our tuk-tuk driver to take us to all these temples for the day. This next temple is called Bayon Temple. And this temple is what I call the face temple, because everywhere you look in terms of this temple system, you're going to see faces everywhere. Large faces of either the god or the king at the time that ordered the construction of this temple. And again, you can see the detail in all of the carvings within this temple system. Now, there are over 200 faces throughout this temple, and it's just so interesting that this whole entire temple was essentially a shrine to this face, which was kind of creepy in a way. But again, you can see the wear of this temple. A lot of this is in ruins, and in terms of the restoration process, they're still in the middle of it, trying to collect the bricks properly and stack them all together again. But there was some issue with regards to its restoration in terms of why it's still kind of in ruins, but it makes for a very, very interesting setting. Like I said, this is straight out of some adventure movie. Also, you want to be careful with the monkeys. There are monkeys actively throughout the area, which you'll see later in the video. But you can see how amazing this area looks. Again, you see faces everywhere on all of the surfaces of this building. And it's still got all of these intricate hand-carved details in terms of these pictures on their walls, plastered all throughout. And these are the monkeys that I mentioned that you need to be careful about. They're actually pretty mischievous. You can see them actually messing with some guy's scooter here. And they are funny. They cross across the street very carefully, probably better than some children. And so, yeah, you gotta be careful with these monkeys. They weren't necessarily aggressive, but they can certainly be if provoked. And this Bayon Temple was part of a bunch of other temples on the grounds here, and a lot of these temples are, again, in ruins. They are just so interesting to look at because, again, just the age of these things, it's otherworldly in my opinion, where I just feel like I'm being transported to a different time and place. Now, the walk throughout all of these temples was generally pretty manageable. I wouldn't suggest that you need to be in any particular state of health for it, but certainly manageable. If you haven't already, please smash that like button. It does help with promoting the video, and I certainly appreciate it. But again, you can see the details in terms of these structures. After this Bayon Temple, we went to the next temple here, and we're basically doing the greatest hits here of these temples. There are hundreds of these temples in this area, and we're only going to be seeing about 5 or 6 of them. So just be aware that this is just a sampling of all of these temples within the area. This next temple is called Ta Temple, and it's actually an unfinished temple, but it is quite a bit of a pyramid, and you can see here that it's really not for the faint of heart. If you have a fear of heights, this might be a temple you might want to skip. But in terms of temples, as far as they go, this is probably the least decorated temple in terms of all of those wall carvings. It's mostly just perfect in terms of its structure, which is more of a pyramid. And so that's that temple. This next temple is Ta Prohm Temple. Again, you can see a face there. And this is known colloquially in the area of Siem Reap as the Tomb Raider Temple or the Angelina Jolie Temple, because portions of that Tomb Raider movie were actually filmed here. So if there is a celebrity among these temples, it is certainly going to be Angkor Wat and perhaps this temple right here. But it's a beautiful temple. It is one of those temples that's an example of how overgrown the vegetation is over these temples. It truly encapsulates how much the jungle has really overtaken this temple system and how overgrown the vegetation has become to actually become a part of the temple itself. And in terms of its restoration, I understand that they have no intention of removing these trees in order to restore this temple. They have just decided that this is now a part of the temple and that's how it's going to be. And I feel that that's the right decision considering how beautiful it is and how, again, there is an interplay here between man and nature, and how just amazing everything looks. It's just such a spectacular setting. Again, this is an active temple system, so you will see monks, you will see people praying in all of these areas, and so it's just so interesting to me that this is happening on the other side of the world, where people are praying in these amazing little temples that are just out of this world. It really gives you this impression that you're discovering this just crazy lost city in the jungle, and it's just so fascinating. But In terms of its restoration, you can see that they do have these little banisters just holding up parts of this temple together so that the roof doesn't cave in. And these trees have just essentially taken root everywhere. So it is quite an amazing sight and just an out-of-this-world experience. I'm just so happy that we were able to see this with our own eyes. I would have never really imagined the extent of how beautiful something can be in this state of ruin. And so it's just a tremendous experience. I'm glad that my whole family was able to experience it with me. But you'll see a lot of tourists as you go through these temples, and some are more popular than others. Like I mentioned, this is probably one of the more popular temples in the area, so you'll probably see more tourists in this location than you might see in other locations. And as the day goes on, you might see fewer and fewer tourists as the heat kind of starts to take its own course. But yeah, these temples are a once-in-a-lifetime kind of thing, and so I would certainly encourage you to maybe go out and see other parts of this world. I would have never guessed this was in Cambodia, so that was certainly a new thing for us. We had a lunch here. We had some authentic Cambodian food, and it tastes like Thai food. You know, it's kind of like Thai food, but also very delicious and a little different. But after this, we went to this next temple. I call this temple the Bat Temple, and you'll see why in just a minute, because it's got some inhabitants there, and it's got a little bit of everything here. You're going to see the overgrown roots. You're going to see a state of ruin in terms of the way the temple is, and it's again just a very movie set kind of feel to this temple with regards to just how beautiful and in state of ruin that it's in. But at this location, we actually heard some monks singing some hymns over at the side of the temple. These are the bats that I was referring to, and they are basically just taking a little bit of a siesta at this time, but you don't want to provoke them. And you can see again these carvings all throughout the temple that are just so intricate and just really kind of denote a different time in terms of these temples. There are the people just kind of worshiping and singing in congregation there. And here we are just kind of strolling through, just respecting their space. Now, one thing I will just mention to you is that you do need to get a ticket for Angkor in order to be touring it. And what some people like to do is they like to purchase their ticket in the evening so that they can actually go there late in the evening, and it will count for the day following that. But you get maybe a good sunset view of Angkor in the evening with regards to spending that money properly with regards to the ticket. We didn't do this. We just decided we wanted to go there and see it for ourselves, and we weren't really knowing what to expect. But this is us returning back to our hotel, and basically we just spent the rest of the day relaxing, and we wanted to make the most out of our trip, so we ended up spending the evening at Pub Street, which is another popular location. There is this little town of Siem Reap, which is a very, very nice town, actually. I would say that there is a lot to do here outside of the temples as well. There is an Americanized aspect to it. But let me go over the cost. We spent $113 on lodging, $267 for the flight tickets from Vietnam to here, as well as the tuk-tuk. We spent about $70 on food and drink, and for the tours it was $164, which included the tickets to the Angkor system, leaving a grand total of $616 with a per day breakdown of about $308. Well worth the experience, considering it is a once-in-a-lifetime experience. In my opinion, I would certainly recommend it to you. We left the next day to Singapore, and so we'll see you there. If you haven't already, please like, share, and subscribe.